Hey, my fellow credit renovators, welcome back. Say you have a large collection on your credit report, somewhere around in the tune of $9,000, maybe even less if you're lucky. How do you get rid of that? How do you tackle that? How do you treat it? Let's find out. Okay, a few weeks back, I had a call in. A young lady was seeking some advice on a large collection that she had in her credit report. It was $9,174, and it was reporting with a third party collection agency, a company called CBE Group. Not promoting them in any way, shape, form, or fashion. But she was not quite sure about what to do with it. And so we had a conversation. I looked at her credit. We did a little bit of research and found out that the collection, the original creditor, was for Dominion East Ohio Gas for gas service. And she said, well, I'm pretty sure I know what that is. I used to have HEAP. For those of you who don't know, HEAP is a government program called Home Energy Assistance Program. It's to make sure that folks who are in certain qualifications can have a subsidized gas bill. In other words, they'll pay the same amount of money every month on their gas bill based on their income level or other criteria, and they don't have to worry about high and low gas bills in the summer throughout the season. And so over the course of about 12 or 13 years, she said that she had accumulated a balance, which is common with HEAP accounts. And so I asked her, I said, she no longer with HEAP? She said, no. And she said, no, I didn't use them for a long time because my gas was included. My utilities were included in my rent where I was living at the time. She has since then bought a house. And she no longer has the HEAP program. She's paying her normal market rate and market payment gas bill. So we did a little research, and I found out that that was exactly the case. It was a HEAP account. And I know from my experience, again, for those of you who may not know, in my experience, that typically when HEAP accounts are terminated, the government usually reimburses East Ohio Gas or Dominion, whatever you want to call them in our area, or whatever your local utility. They usually get reimbursed for any loss from accounts that are terminated and don't get paid in full. So I was fairly certain that she would not have to be concerned about that for that reason. In addition to that, because she indicated it had been over nearly 10 years or longer, she wasn't quite sure. She was kind of guesstimating. But we knew it had been far longer than 7. We knew that the delinquency was way longer than that. So there was a good chance that we could get it removed that way. Now, this was the only account of consequence for her on her credit. And so she says, oh, well, I think you'll do good service for me, but I think this is something I want to tackle myself. I said, sure, more than happy to help you. And so I instructed her on how to approach this collection. And this is exactly what I told her to do. This is exactly what she did. And this is exactly what the outcome was for her. So first of all, I told her to reach out to the third-party collection agency directly by phone and ask them about the account. So tip number 1, when you call or when you talk to a collection company regarding an account, you never want to admit that you owe anything. You should simply say, and I quote, yes, I'm calling about this account that's being reported on my credit report, and I need more information about it so I can determine if it's mine or not. I would like you to send me validation and verification of my owing of this account. If you say that or nearly that over the phone, now of course we all know, we've heard the message where we're told that these phone calls are monitored for quality assurance. Yeah, right. So you want to make sure you let them know that. And so then what usually happens could be one of two things. I talk to you folks a lot about if-thens. So if they can't provide, well, if they can provide validation and verification, they will usually send you either by email or by snail mail. What they should be sending you for proper validation is, what we're expecting is a copy of the contract that you originally signed, whatever agreement you signed that started that original creditor account from the original creditor. They should be sending you a payment history showing up to and including where you went into default, where you went behind on them, and how it got from 30, 60, 90 days late to 120 days late, collections, and then charge off, and then sold to that collection agency that we're talking to. If they can't provide you that validation and verification, they will either ignore your request and hope you forget about it, or they're going to have it removed from your credit report. And they need to do that within 30 days because, as I've told you guys before, we have to give them 30 days to respond to any request that we send them per the laws of the Fair Credit Reporting Act. Now, in her case, when she got on the phone with them, she called me back a week later and told me what was the results of the call. And she said, as I quote, she stated, they told her, "Oh, we're so sorry. We shouldn't even be reporting this. We're going to immediately have this removed from your credit report, and give us a few days for us to get it off." And so she said she hung up with them, and she waited a few days, and she called me exactly 1 week later. That was on a Tuesday, and she called me and told me that yes, in fact, she followed up with her credit monitoring service, the one she uses, that I recommended to her, and she was notified that that third-party collection for $9,174 was removed in its entirety from her credit report, and that her 3 scores, because it was two scores, because it was reporting on 2 out of her 3 scores. It wasn't reporting on the third, and her credit score went up. Scores went up about 62 points because of removing that one collection. And so that is one way you can tackle collections, and that's why I always recommend that before you pay any collections, that we do a validation and verification of the account, especially with collections, because if one of the rules of the Fair Credit Reporting Act, if a third-party collection agency cannot validate and verify the existence of the account, the existence of the debt to you, and that they can legally collect on that debt, they cannot expect you to pay anything, and they must remove it from your credit report. Now, if they're assigned, that's a different story. So again, that's one way that you can tackle collections on your credit report, and maybe get them removed without having to pay them off. Paying off the collection should always be a last resort when we've done everything we're supposed to do to make sure that we're paying who we're supposed to be paying for what we're supposed to be paying that we really owe, and that we're paying no more than we're supposed to. So a lot of folks out there will tell you never pay collections, and that's not true. I can tell you almost exclusively, and 99% of the time, because again, what I'm about to say is not is always and never either, but in most cases, there's never a always pay collections or never pay collections. It all depends on the collection, the nature of it, and whether it's valid and verifiable and truly your obligation. So, but this is a way to do it. And of course, she did it on her own. I guided her on it. And I was very, very happy for her, because normally, oftentimes, I'm going to say normally, but oftentimes creditors are not that receptive, and they're usually drag their feet, or they'll make you go back and forth. Sometimes they make you go back and forth, which is again part of the process. So if you got a situation similar to this, contact them directly, ask them for validation and verification of the debt. If they can provide it, then you got the next step. You go from there. If they can't provide it if they can't provide it within the 30 days, it should be removed, and they should contact you and let you know it was removed. And if not, then you can follow up again, and you may have to make a second, even a third request for validation and verification if that's what's necessary. But before you think about, unless the collection is nominal, very small, I always recommend that that be done beforehand, because again, we want to make sure we're paying for what we really owe. We want to pay who we're really supposed to pay, and we want to make sure we are paying no more than we're supposed to be paying, because sometimes extra fees and things that are not valid and verifiable or appropriate being added. So hopefully you find this helpful. Good luck to all of you out there trying to wipe those collections off. This should go a long way. This is a good weapon. This is a good tool for your toolbox. And again, if you like this video, if you haven't already subscribed, I ask that you subscribe below. Please give me comments. Tell me if you don't like my videos, if they're too long, if they're too short, if I need to go into more information, am I going too fast? Feel free to add comments below, because I want to make these videos better for you guys. I want you guys to be able to enjoy the video, and even more so, be helpful. If the videos be helpful for you, to help you renovate that credit report and get us to a better credit report. Because remember, better credit leads to a better life. Better credit means a better life. So until next time, you guys take care. Go Buckeyes. They won. Yes, they did. They won.